everyone. Welcome to our wind down to our live. I'm happy to see all of you virtually. So I know I didn't see you guys last week. So cheers to that. Also, I would like to know for the first time in a long time, I was on time, but my hair was not. She doesn't listen to me, and I've let that go. So, look at you, all of you so early. I'm gonna get there. My hair will get there too. Hey, Jace. Hey, Jonathan. Hey, David. Hey, Kendron. Hi, Gabriella. All right, so let's get into. Hi, Sydney. Okay. Hi, 7-8. All right. So, hi, Linda. Today we are going to talk about burnout because that was the reason why we didn't have the live last week. So we are going to get into this. Hold on. Here we go. So this is going to be, oh, thank you, girl. This is going to be our agenda. We're going to do a brief history of labor, the stages of burnout. Hustle culture is a pyramid scheme, and I firmly believe in that. Hey, S. Davis. And we're going to do burnout and money because somebody asked about burnout and a debt-free journey. And y'all know I'm not on a debt-free journey. I know some of you are free and some of you are still paying off your debt. So we're going to talk about that. And then we are going to talk about burnout and classism because 7-8 brought that up. And that's something that I brought up a little bit before. And I think it's a great topic. Who gets to be burnt out? And we're going to talk a little bit about this panorama that we're still in because a few of you want to talk about that, which makes sense because I have no idea why my job is still set to do return to office next month. I am very, very confused. Very confused. All right, so let's get into it. Okay, so a brief history of labor, which I feel like this should be bigger because I really like this GIF. Hold on, how do I make this bigger? Actually, we'll just remove me. Okay, so when work started, right? It's not like we started with factories and we started with a cubicle farm. People were hunter-gatherers because we didn't have society. And so people were just picking berries and stuff, living good life, seeing, the earth. And we ruined that and decided we didn't need that anymore. We decided that we were instead going to go into fiefdoms. And by we, I mean Europe. Europe notoriously had fiefdoms through the 1800s to the 1400s, which was an interesting concept where they basically said somebody had the God-given right to be the lord and the lady of the manor. They owned all the land. And it was basically European sharecropping where they rented out the land to people and said like, hey, not really rent. You can work this land. I'm going to get all your profits. And in return, I will protect you from the scoundrels that are outside of our fiefdom. Yeah, the things that poor people have been conned into over the years is trifling. So from fiefdoms, and fiefdom with a touch of slavery. Slavery has been going on since the beginning of time because humans are problematic people. Chattel slavery, however, was introduced in the 1600s by Europeans against Africans. And yes, we were then bought and sold everywhere to be free labor. Joy. Awful. Okay, and then from chattel slavery, we then had the Industrial Revolution where people decided, oh, this is not a good look. I guess we have to do the morally correct thing. But we're moving on. We are in the industrial age. We have radios, we have telephones, we have these things, and we need factories. And the Industrial Revolution, technically, if you look at it through history, started in Europe, in the US, it is going on currently in varying areas of the world. So it's not just, the Industrial Revolution of the UK, Industrial Revolution of America. There are still factories. They just happen to be offshore now, which causes consternation with certain people and happiness for other people, and also leads to fast fashion and a host of other issues. All right. So then from Industrial Revolution, which is technically still going on, we have the lovely cubicle farm, which many of us are in, which started in the late 1960s to present, where somehow we got scammed into corporate work. And not everyone is doing corporate work, but the idea of corporate work I find to be very interesting. So yes, there is our very brief history of labor. All right. Which will help us get through the rest of it. So this is... I tried to practice saying his name, Mr. Herbert Freudenberger. And he did not coin the term burnout. However, he's credited with the term burnout. And he wrote the first essay, I believe, in 1974 about burnout. And he established that the 3 symptoms of burnout are overwhelming exhaustion, lack of emotional attachment to the job. Originally, burnout was specifically tied to labor because capitalism only cares about you if you can work. And then a sense of ineffectiveness and lack of accomplishment, as in at your job, you feel like it's pointless. Yes. And burnout can be applied to other things as well, but we're going to talk about it right now in the context of work. So this is Herbert. And it's to be noted when we get to the classism section, the term burnout was originally, when he created the first essay and he drafted the first essay, was originally tied to people that were in what he termed to be helping fields. So psychiatrists, therapists, doctors, things of that nature, aka people with a degree. Originally. So originally, burnout was never even thought of to include working class people, which we're going to get into why that's a mess in the first place. And the idea of what is valued labor versus what is just everyone takes it for granted. Okay, so we are going to talk a little bit about, let me go back really quick because I realized that I went through really fast. Lack of emotional attachment to the job also stems from lack of ineffectiveness and lack of accomplishment, stem from whether or not you think the job is valuable. And I found this really great video by Awkward Avocado. Is it Awkward Avocado? Wait, hold on. Let me make sure I'm telling you where her YouTube, Confused Avocado, something about avocado, child, from Confused Avocado. And we're going to look at a little bit of her video. So let me go ahead and make this bigger really quick.
So what are bullshit jobs? As quoted from David Graeber, the author of the book Bullshit Jobs, a Theory, a form of paid employment that is so completely pointless, unnecessary, or pernicious that even the employee cannot justify its existence. Even though as part of the conditions of employment, the employee feels obliged to pretend that this is not the case. In his book, David Graeber uncovered the issue of bullshit jobs in the modern society by soliciting hundreds of testimonials from people who believe that their jobs are meaningless. He categorizes these jobs into 5 categories. Flunkies, people who are there to make their superiors feel important, for example, doormans or assistants. Of course, you feel 100 times cooler when you have an assistant who buys you lunch and answers the calls that you don't want to pick up. Goons, who are hired because other companies also hire similar positions, for example, internal corporate law.
She said internal corporate lawyers, and then it cut off because my existential dread also inserted. Yes, an internal corporate lawyer, which is what I am, is a bullshit job. To be honest, I don't disagree. And yeah, so with that, I'm going to put her video in the description box. It's only 11 minutes long, so I highly recommend you watch the entire thing. The video, she talks about bullshit jobs in the book that she read, and specifically how a lot of corporate jobs are there just to push paperwork and are basically just admin jobs that don't actually help or hurt people. So, for example, when the Panorama started, who got labeled as hi, Chris. Who got labeled as essential workers and who didn't? That is the baseline. You can then take whose job is BS and whose job actually matters. I will have you know, I have no shame in saying a corporate lawyer is not an essential job. My job is to negotiate software contracts, which software, of course, is not a real thing that you can touch, and argue with people about where the comma should go in various documents. Yeah, that's how I feel about that. Hold on, it's about to play it again. So yes, so before I change the subject to avoid my own existential dread, a lot of people, because I see a lot of you saying, yes, David Graeber's book, Kelly, that's what she was talking about, which is excellent. I would like to, well, her video talking about the book was excellent. So it's on my list of things to read. So if you read it, please let me know your thoughts on the book. Would definitely love to read that when I get some time. One of the parts when we talked about the 3 different types, the 3 different symptoms of burnout, one of them has to do whether or not you feel value in your job. During the Panorama, we have all realized there is value in the grocery store. There is value in the nurse, the doctor, the transporter at the hospital. There's value in the pharmacist. There's always and forever going to be value in teachers. There's value in the people that work at the grocery store. Did I say that? There is value in sanitation workers and people that clean. outside of that, where's the value? And of course, there are other things. I'm not, an encyclopedia to list off who all got deemed as to be essential. Most corporate jobs did not make that cut, which leads to the idea that your job is pointless, which leads to my discontent with the job, which leads to the tiredness, which leads to why we didn't get a live last week, to be very honest. All right. Restaurant workers, to Felicity's point, yes. Fast food workers, yes, were essential. So Natasha's point, fast food workers were essential and administrative workers were not essential. Never look down on someone else's job based on income. Exactly. So anybody having to do with service for some reason was essential, as well as people that can help others. A corporate lawyer is not essential, child. It's just not. It's really not. Which I already knew that, which is my bottom gripe with my profession in the first place. But yes, we are going to get into that. So one thing having to do with this idea of burnout and bullshit jobs is this idea that you constantly work, and particularly we're going to talk about corporate first before we get into classism and like different types of jobs and like working class jobs, what's deemed that, is this idea that you do the same repetitive thing over and over and over again. And if you happen to work at Amazon doing the same repetitive thing over and over again, building strategy calls, strategizing, doing all this thing, your boss, Big B, goes to the moon and you're still sitting there droning away 70 hours a week doing the same damn thing over and over again. And what did you do to help society? Kendra, yeah. Most lawyers, unless you work in the criminal justice system, are not essential. And even the criminal justice system is set up in a way for people to fail, first of all. So we could that's a whole different conversation. But yeah. It's a very interesting thing. So I was talking to Gabriel about it, and he was saying like his type of job, he's a graphic designer, he works in tech as well, has been the same. And he's like, I enjoyed my job so much a few years ago versus now, like I feel burnt out. And I was like, well, the difference is I think we have all realized with the Panorama being forced to sit inside, oh, is my job really necessary? Like, am I helping people? I'm not hurting people, like, but am I helpful? Like, is this needed? The society needs me. And a lot of our jobs are a bunch of crockamamie nonsense to make a few people rich. And to Kendron's point, why am I, I'm literally like, why am I here? What am I even doing every single day? And a lot of us feel this way all the time. But these are conversations which we're going to get into a little bit more, that managers do not have the EQ nor the sensibility to talk about. So a lot of people now, you're seeing the Great Resignation, which we talked about, I think like a few lives ago, people being like, I'm just going to quit. I'm just going to go do what I want to do because this is nonsense. Not everybody's in that position, but that's why you're seeing people say, well, I'm burnt out. So like, let me just try something else. And if I burn out at that, well, at least it's new, because the newness will keep you going for a certain amount of time, which I think is interesting. All right, so let's go to the next slide. And in tandem with burnout is this idea of hustle culture. So people, if you tell someone, oh, I'm burnt out, like if you were to go to HR, for example, say, hey, I'm burnt out, HR will tell you, if you are a company that has PTO, take some time off. Take some time off. We gave you X amount of days, take some time off. That is not going to fix your burnout. You know why? Because while you take the time off, everybody else is at work doing whatever they're doing. So you're sitting there. There are so many people, which I always tell people don't do this, that on their days off are still logging in. I have so many people on my team at work that still log in, which creates a culture of, do we even have time off if I see y'all logging in? Like, if I'm off, I'm not logging in. Like, don't speak to me. Don't think of me. I don't exist. I am not here. And it took many years to finally get there. I was like, this is wild. Like, we are not built to work this way. It has already been shown if you work from home that you are working more hours. So you're working more hours. You're not really taking time off. And people tell you the answer is in you. You're the problem. You need to learn to disconnect. It's not the rest of us who are not disconnecting. It is you. It is an individualistic problem. The solution to burnout, which very few companies have done, is community, is everybody taking the time off. There are a few companies, I saw Nike has other corporate issues that during social justice movement after the murder of George Floyd, a lot of people came out and said things. However, I have friends that work at Nike. They gave everyone a mandatory week off for the Panorama. I think it was like last month. There are a few tech companies that have done it. And all of my friends that have worked at these companies, they all reported like, oh, it was so great because everyone is off. So no one is logging on. There's no fear. Then you feel better. It's not going to work until people realize individualism is foolishness and a farce to get you to feel like you're not doing enough, which then brings me to hustle culture. So if you don't know who this is, I highly recommend you find this movie and watch this movie. I haven't seen this movie in many years. Hustle culture is pervasive in the United States, pervasive around the world, particularly in the United States, which has, for the developed, quote unquote, developed first world, the worst labor standards. There is no mandatory PTO in America, no mandatory federal paid time off in the United States of America, which is a wild thing. So this is perpetrated by our culture, by society. I've lived in New York City now 7 years, born here, grew up in Miami, moved back. 7 years. If you don't work enough, there's a fear of missing out from not working. There's a fear of, back then used to go to brunch, be like, what are you doing? What are you up to? People are asking, they're not asking if you had a relaxing day in Central Park. They're asking, what have you been? Who have you seen? Where have you been? Who have you seen? What work have you done? They want to know what deals closed, which is the most wild thing, which has been interesting to see now New York kind of still in a slumber, to be honest, which is the first time. And to be honest, is very nice. What I found interesting is when I typed in hustle songs, the first thing that came up was not this list that I personally curated. Instead, this website came up, which I want to share this website with you. So hold on one second. Let me share this website with you, which the fact that this website even exists, I thought was very interesting. And this article exists. That was very interesting to me. So there is a website over here called salesman.org, which is for salespeople. And they have this article, I'll make it a little bigger. 13 motivational rap songs to increase your sales hustle. Wiz Khalifa, work hard, play hard. DJ Khaled, all I do is win. Eminem, lose yourself. I don't know why Eminem, you know what? Because you know what? The demographic, it's for the demographic. Okay, Drake, started from the bottom. Aloe Black, I need $1. Kanye West, Can't Tell Me Nothing. Lil Wayne, Money on My Mind. Nas, Hate Me Now. 50 Cent, I Get Money. Jay-Z, So Ambitious. T.I., Big Shit Poppin'. Some of these are very random. Eminem, Till I Collapse. Hold on. Till I Collapse? That doesn't sound like you shouldn't be working yourself that hard. Okay. Kanye West, Stronger. Bonus, Rudimental, Not Giving In, featuring John Newman and Alex Claire. So to that point, it's the fact that people are salespeople, having worked in tech all these years, are an interesting bunch. And I say interesting in the biggest level of kindness that I can muster. Because if you work with salespeople, you know that salespeople, particularly in tech, are very pushy, often do not listen to others, often treat everyone else like the post office. And when you're telling them to listen to these songs all day in and all day out just to sell some software, like it is the end of their existence, I see why now. Do I have any more empathy? No, but I see why. I really see why. All right, so let's go back to the slides. Stop screen. Oh, hold on. Share screen. I don't know how to share two screens at once. I'm gonna get there. I'm not gonna get there today, but I'm gonna get there. Oh, is that that's the wrong one. Hold on. That's the wrong one. Now y'all can see my notes. Share screen. I guess it's the second one. This one? Okay, here we go. So hustle culture will have you feeling like, hey, I have to do this. I have to keep up. I have to keep doing everything. I have to keep up with everyone else, which, to be honest, kind of is toxic. Obviously, we all agree with this, but also is part of one of the reasons why I don't share certain things. So I wanted to like touch on it for a second to be transparent, because I try to be as transparent as possible, because the internet will set unrealistic expectations. The internet will make you think that someone who works a crazy amount of time is happy about it, is doing great, is doing, everything, is just like living life and just looks, child, this is a face. Like, I have makeup on, is waking up like this, and, Ankara is being worn every day, when that's not realistic. So with hustle culture, I obviously do this. And then I have my full-time job and as a tech attorney, and then occasionally I do like DE&I consulting. Like, I'm on their retainer, and like once or twice a month, like I give talks about DE&I. So a few of you have asked, which I think is a great question. I don't see anything wrong with the question, about my schedule, about like productivity tips, like how do I get all this done? And I've avoided it for like a long time, to be honest. I avoided answering the question. I'm just like, oh, like I'm tired. And sometimes I'll be like, I'm just tired, like whatever, like I just do it. And the reason for avoiding answering the question is not because I'm like, oh, I got to keep these productivity tips to myself. Nah, child. Is because certain levels of productivity are toxic. They're not sustainable. To be very frank, it's not sustainable for me to be doing 3 things at once. It's really not. It's kind of foolish. The only reason why I do it is because, you guys know, and we're going to talk about it in a second, is I owe a shit ton of money in student loans. So I'm only getting out of it if I pull myself out of it. So then the question would be, well, Stephanie, I too owe a shit ton of money in student loans. Help me, sis. Like, we're going to get out of this. Last week, we were supposed to have our live, right? We have had a live every Thursday, I believe since May, correct me if I'm wrong, maybe April, except for one week I went to visit Shayna. So I told you guys the week before, like, hey, we're not gonna have our live. We've had the live. There have been some mornings on Thursday where I wake up and I'm like, I don't have a topic. Like, I'm just exhausted. I don't know if I'm gonna do this. And the guilt will sit there, and I'll still do it. Of course, like I'm very big on, like, if I said I'm gonna do something, I'm gonna do something. And I'm very big on like a big fear of like letting people down. It's like a huge fear that motivates me, a negative motivation, whatever. It is what it is, if we're being honest. So if what happened last week was I didn't have I found the topic, and I was like, okay, like I'm gonna do this, like I'm tired. Like I'm just tired. Like I'm hitting the wall. Like the wall's there. I'm like, push through it. It's fine. It's fine. Shut up. It's fine. Telling myself. 3:00 came. 3:30 came. I'm sitting at my computer crying. Tired. Because when you hit a level of like exhaustion, you can't do it. In the fear that creeps in of like, oh, I didn't, everybody else can do it. Like, you can't do it. Are you weakling? All the foolishness you see like on YouTube all the time. People being like, I wake up at 4:00 in the morning. I wake up at 4:00 in the morning. But I don't, that video, people have asked for that video numerous times. I'm like, no, because it just preaches nonsense. I don't think it's normal for most people to wake up at that time. The past 3 weeks, I have not woken up at 4 a.m. every weekday. I have not, because I can't sustain it. I'm tired. So it's disingenuous. And to be honest, some of those people that say they wake up at 4:00 in the morning, I'm sure they do it every weekday and they're sticking to their schedule. Some of them don't. Some of them are telling you they do it. And then the days that they're just like burnt out, they're like, oh, whatever. They're not going to know. I already did the video. I think there's a level in like productivity shaming where people who can do it certain times will shame others into be like, look what I did. Because I'm so great. I woke up and yes, like Beyonce, I look like this. No, it's a lie and it's a scam. Child, it's a lie and it's a scam. And I don't want to participate in like productivity toxicity, to be honest, which is why I think it's important to like do this video. And I thought like to myself was interesting. Even when I canceled the video last week, I couldn't bring myself to say like, hey, I'm burnt out. It was implied. It was, hey, we're not going to do the video, but next week we're going to talk about burnout. Let me know like what you want to talk about. But it was never, hey, me, Stephanie, is burnt out. I'm tired. Like my job is what it is, and I'm still doing it and whatever. It wasn't that. So I think that there's a level of honesty that needs to be had. So there's that level of honesty. It was on Instagram though. On Instagram, so like I'm, just say whatever the hell I want to say sometimes. But it's an interesting point where people will have a big fear of just saying, hey, I'm burnt out. Like I'll speaking for myself, there was a fear of like, if I say this, then what does that say about me? Does that say I'm a quitter? Does that say that I'm lazy? Does that say this? Objectively speaking, anybody would look at myself and be like, lazy where? Like, where's the time? But that's not how you feel, because we are in hustle culture all day, every day. Everybody, thinks like, people really are out here thinking Jeff Bezos actually still works, which I find flabbergasting and hilarious. That man is out here, frowning around, flying to the moon, acting a fool, doing dick measuring contests with Elon Musk. At this point, who's going to the moon first? The fact that people really think that, oh, if someone is rich, it's because they work harder than me. They work harder than you, you're lazy, is a lie. Is a lie. Poverty has nothing to do with aptitude, generally speaking. Poverty has nothing to do with willingness to work. Poverty has to do, usually, the circumstances you're into. I was reading an article yesterday, before we get back on the topic, but I was reading an article yesterday about how, I believe, I'll find the article, it's at least 40% of Navient student loan, what do you call us? What are people who have student loans of Navient? I'm like, what are we the student loan people are? The loanees? The loanees of Navient, most of them are underwater in their student loans after the pandemic, as in people have been paying money towards these student loans for almost 2 years, and their actual debt has not gone down because of the interest. As of right now, if I paid off my student loans tomorrow, the minimum amount of interest, money I did not borrow, is $75,000. How is that right? How is that right? So hustle culture is toxic. Hustle culture will work you into your grave. Hustle culture can only get you so far because it's based on what can you do or who can you scam. Which there are plenty of pyramid scheme going on of people being like, yeah, I can help you with this. I'm going to sell you this course and do this and do that. Either hustle culture, you'll work yourself, or you're going to work somebody else. That's it. It's not productive in the long run, and it's not sustainable. So that's that. I'm trying to let go of the idea that my self-worth is tied to productivity. That's something I'm unlearning. And yeah. Oh yeah, my student loans are wild. But we're going to get into that a little bit, because I know like a specific set of people. Thank you, Tisha. We are the debtors. We in the debtors prison. That's what someone called in the article. They said, we are in a debtor's prison. And I had never felt more seen in my life. I was like, yes, the hell we are. We the debtors. Yes. So yeah, I would recommend, and again, it's not like, oh, you can opt out of hustle culture. It's so easy. It's not like that. But when you realize it, then okay, like step one, like this is not going to go anywhere. This is just going to make you tired and miserable with bags under your eyes. I mean, they're always there, to be honest, but with bigger bags under your eyes. So you got to slowly step away from the hustle scam, because it's a scam. It's a scam of your own life and robbing you of happiness in the free time of going outside. You feel what I'm saying? Thank you, Enlighten the Below. Yes, go ahead and like this video if you haven't already. All right, so let's go ahead and go on to the next part for my little semi-rant about this. All right, so speaking of student loans, actually, this is a good segue. Speaking of student loans, here's my good friend. Y'all know I don't like this man. Dave Ramsey. We are going to talk about student loans and debt. So specifically, and I'm going to go through the comments. Actually, we'll talk about student loans and debt, and then I'll go through the comments a little bit, because I see y'all are talking about it. Thank you, Anna. This is a great idea. Great. Yes. Self-worth is not tied to productivity. Yes. I'm learning that every day. I don't know where I heard it somewhere, to be honest. I'm learning that every day. So when we're going to talk about student loans, student loan payoff, and student loan payoff burnout, debt-free journey, not even student loans, credit cards, child. America is the land of the credit card. Anytime you could get plastic and buy whatever you want and pay for it later. We're going to talk about just money and debt payoff and how that burnout works. And yes, these are my numbers in case you guys don't know. It's supposed to be the first week of the month. Sometimes the tiredness gets the best of me. Every month I do my student loan update, and I've been paying off my student loans. So, and we're going to get to why this Dave Ramsey clip is in here, because y'all know how I feel about him. So, Yep. Mr. Pull yourself up from the bootstraps when he's wearing penny loafers. We're gonna get into his little message, which I find interesting. So the reason why we're going to talk about this is I think even if you don't have student loans, most people in America are indebted. And indebted not in a way like the rich, when we talked about forever ago at the ProPublica report that the rich people have loans, but they have very low interest rate. I mean, most of us are high interest rate in debt. The average credit card interest rate is between 18 and 24%. Wild. That's a shit ton of money. So let's talk about these gosh darn student loans made of my existence. So in February of last year, on Valentine's Day, as a self-love act to myself, 5 years after graduating law school, I finally decided to stop ignoring Sally Mae's phone calls and pay off my student loans. And I had ignored her for various reasons. At one point, I was making $30,000. Like, I did not have any money for that woman. But anyways, so I started my student loan journey with $304,680.17 trifling cents. Yes, you're hearing this correctly. Shit ton of money. All right, 18 months later, I have paid off $97,180.42. And I still owe $216,040.56 trifling cents. Now, if you are better at math than me, you will do that math and say, Stephanie, that math is not correct. Yes, that math is not adding up. You know why? Because there's interest baked into the $304,000 that's not showing up. If I were to magically, by the grace of God himself, pay off these student loans tomorrow, minimum, again, $75,000 in interest, money I did not borrow, that I will pay back. It is predatory, it is scheming, it is trifling. Nobody else can say anything to me about that other than that. There are people literally, I had someone write me a comment one time, and they mean well, but they just have to say stupid shit. Literally was like, I think what I said in the video was, I believe in my spirit. My spirit believes that the student loan companies set the interest rate at random numbers. I have student loans that are 4%, a few of them, most of them 6.6%, 7%. Sally Mae interest rate 10%. I said it's random. I said they're just picking shit at random. The person then had the caucasity to write me back. And yes, I said it because that's the only type of person that would say this to me. Write that back, and I could see their avatar. Oh, it's based on risk profile. They don't know if you're going to pay it back. They don't know if you're going to pay back your mortgage, ma'am. But yet your mortgage rate is 3-4%. At 18 years old, aren't you supposed to bet on the young? Aren't children the future? What the hell is my interest rate 10%? Excuse me? Girl, then you signed up for this. I signed up for the original amount. I did not sign up for that $75,000. However, you know what? I'm paying it off. Whatever, we're getting there. There comes a level when you start. We are 18 months in of paying this debt off. This, I used to have, for those of you that watch the video, I meant to put it in here. I used to have a student loan tracker. I still have it. That every time I paid one off, I put a star. Child, you got to incentivize yourself somehow. A golden star, literally next to the loan, oh, it's paid off. It sat on my fridge. That tracker sat on my fridge until I moved into this apartment. So I moved to this apartment. What month are we in? In July. So a month and so now. I moved into this apartment. A month and a half I've been in this apartment. My old apartment, it sat right on my fridge. Every day I would see the $304,000 because Dave Ramsey and them told me, look at your loan, assess your loan, make peace with the loan. You did this to yourself. Pay off that money. You know what started happening around month 11 when I was giving out of my hard-earned pennies $5,000-$6,000 a month towards the student loans? I started feeling depressed. Because what happens if you're throwing away 70% of your paycheck, literally 70% of my paycheck goes towards did go towards my student loans, and you're not seeing the balance go down? I still owe $216,000. What do you think that does to a person? It disincentivizes? Child, y'all are better with English than me right now. Disincentivize somebody from keeping to do it. Then you get very upset. It would be different if all of type of effect I've done with you. Rice and beans. Yes. That man said you cannot eat salmon. You need to eat rice and beans. It makes you feel a little upset with yourself, like, how the hell did I get into this problem? Well, I got into this problem because the law school told me I would graduate and make 180 grand. Boo-boo. 5 years later, I have still, to this day, never made a salary of $180,000. It has not happened. So what I'm supposed to do, sue the law school and ask for my money back? When I graduated, I made 30 grand working in entertainment as a lawyer, a barred lawyer who passed on the first try. So I have since moved the tracker that I would, if I pick you guys up and turn it around, then I'll mess up the setup. But it's literally, I can see it if I'm sitting here where the tracker is. But if you close the door, you can't see it. Because basically, I have accepted that it's there. Yes. But 18 months later, I cannot look at that thing every day because that makes no sense. So on that note, because different people don't embrace reality, what does Mr. Ramsey have to say about whose fault it is, why you owe this debt? I just thought it was, interesting, since people love to cape for him. So we're going to play this little clip really quick. And for context, this clip is not taken out of context at all.
78% of Americans are living paycheck to paycheck. Normal is broke. And making way too much money to be that dadgum broke. That's normal.
Yeah. Dave Ramsey said we make too much money to be broke. It's all our fault. Not the systemic issues against the 99% in America. Not the systemic racism. Not the will to work. It is our fault. Child, the foolishness. Which is why I've tried to, because student loan forgiveness is like this hot button issue with certain selfish people. They're selfish, saying, I paid it off. You need to pay it off. Okay. If by the grace of God I paid off and then 10 years later they do student loan forgiveness, I will cheer it on. Because why should people have to suffer because I suffered? People that feel that way have a very individualistic, sad view of life. That is, if I did it, you have to do it. Why? Why wouldn't you want someone else's life to be better? Nothing good has come. Okay, lies. The only good thing that has come from me owing all that money is me being forced to be very good at finances now. You don't pay 70% of your paycheck towards your student loans unless you have realized, like, this is my budget. This is why I flipped out the other day about them $10 grapes. If you know, you know. So yes, it forced me into personal finance extreme responsibility. What else has it done for me? Nothing. It has done nothing else for me besides give me stress. Besides give me this permanent bag under my eye that's only gone if I go like this. It has caused nonsense. So how to be helpful? Because if you two are experience student loan or any kind of debt, fatigue, burnout, I think the best way to deal with it, I did a video, which I should just link that. I'll link them in the description box, on Dave Ramsey versus One Big Happy Life. They have two different philosophies on how to pay off your debt. And what I have learned is the middle ground is the best way. If you don't have any financial background, yes, I will stand behind it. Familiarizing yourself with them baby steps, fine. It does work for like 6 months. Fine. I guess you can familiarize yourself, because it can be after that. No, it's foolishness, because Dave Ramsey preaches, don't invest in your 401k. Everything is about your debt. You have to eat rice and beans. Boo boo. You can only eat so much mother effing rice and beans before you go and realize either you're going to binge eat filet mignon or do nonsense with your money. That's not how it works. Depriving yourself will cause you to binge nonsense. If you diet, it's the same way. You can't deprive yourself for long amounts of time. You have to make lifestyle changes. And also, Dave Ramsey's not eating rice and beans. Have you seen his compound? First of all, so I think if you're realizing when, I'm frozen. Oh, am I unfrozen? Okay. It always freezes you on the most unflattering light. What I realized when I kind of hit my student loan wall, because it's been a couple months. Like, I've just been, the closer I get to 100,000 paid, the more irritated I become. I've kind of made peace with it, I guess, this month. What I've realized is working in some fun for myself. Like, what is the purpose of working 60 hours a week if I don't see any of that money? That's not going to work for me. So I have built in, sometimes I buy myself, this was one of my gifts to myself one month. It was great, a lovely purchase. This will likely last me the rest of my life. And Cara is great fabric. It made me happy. It makes me happy every time I wear it. Great $60 spent. Excellent. Also, every time I pay off a student loan, me and Gabriel go out to some expensive place or like something fun, something new. And I think you should build in something like once a month. Like, okay, I made my payments this month. Like, what do I get in return? Because it just doesn't work. It just doesn't work. I think his plan, in full fairness, and I said this in the video when I critiqued him, I think his plan works if you have less than 6 figures of debt or can pay your student loans off in 2 years or less. If you are on a 4-year multiple house student loan repayment plan, boo-boo, that rice and beans is not going to last. And if it lasts you, good for you. But you might come out with a receding hairline, bags under your eyes, and horrible skin at the end of it. Is it worth it? No, life still has to go on while you're paying your debt. Do not let the burnout of paying off your debt make you just stop your life, stop seeing your friends. There's really, really no point to it. So yeah, I have adjusted mine. I have now, I saw something about investing the money. I have realized if I had invested $96,000, your girl would be free. As in, I would have enough money to almost hit coast fire and just be like, okay, cool, I'm good. And I do invest in my 401k and like other things while I'm doing this, a minimal amount, but it has added up over time, which is very good. So I highly recommend watch that video I did, Dave Ramsey versus One Big Happy Life. I think it's very helpful. I'll link it in the description box. But also you have to give yourself grace, because if it's going to take longer than 2 years, humans can barely function and focus. Like there's TikTok now, like we're set to like 15 seconds. Nobody has that attention span. You know what I'm saying? And sometimes I think about, this is morbid. Sometimes I think about like, dang, what if the world ends or I get hit by a bus and I wasted all this money giving to Sally Mae? Do you know how mad my ghost and spirit will be? So live your life a little bit. Live your life a little bit, and you will get there when you get there. And that's my 2 free cents on that. All right, so let me look through the comments and then we'll get to the next part. Okay. Let me scroll up. Yes, I agree. As a person, I do not like him. Also, he's problematic if you've watched the lawsuit video on why his company's getting sued. I do not like this man. But I think it's important to like call him out, because people love cult nonsense. So, okay, come on, by Angel, pay off the loans. If I could tell anybody that's recently graduated or doesn't have a large amount, try, and you can pay them off. Pay them off. To be honest, I don't think that student loans are getting forgiven. And I say that with full sincerity, because look how our government fought on giving people stimulus checks. The last stimulus check was a full-on argument. And mind you, it's not giving people anything. It's a partial refund of your taxpayer money. Like, if we're being real. If we're being realistic. So, yes, this is why I can't deal with them. Like, boo-boo, I did not go to law school for you to think that I work for you. Like, that's not regarding salespeople. All right. Okay. So, I agree. I think this is the middle ground. So enlightened below, Biden should just charge off all the interest on student loans. I think that's the middle ground. If he was to ever do something, what would people argue then? No, you should pay this predatory interest. I mean, certain people are assholes. So yes, they will argue that. Nobody with an ounce of empathy and 2 ounces of common sense would say that. That's not money people borrowed. If people are all like, well, you have to do what you said that you were going to do. Okay, I never said that I should be paying 10% of interest. 18-year-old me never said that. So, all right. Okay, so I'm going through. Okay, so Natalia, I watched a video yesterday where Dave told people that even though they are making more money on unemployment, they should go back to work because we are created to work. That sounds to me like he's trying to incentivize his own employees, which, sir, that doesn't make mathematical sense. So from someone who's bad at math. Foolishness. Nothing but foolishness. All right. Thank you, April. A rich, privileged person can't tell me nothing about my life. Exactly. Which is why I stopped listening to Dave. And which is why most people should stop listening to people who are not similarly situated or have been similarly situated. If somebody can't tell me like, oh yeah, XYZ, yeah, when I graduated too, in this decade, I made $30,000. I don't want to hear it. If you made 30 grand back in 1985, Bill, I'm sorry to you. That was way more money than now. Like, what does that have to do with me? Chelsea remembers this if Chelsea's on. When we worked at that place and we asked for a raise, all of the low rung employees asked for a raise. The president of this entertainment company literally said, oh, well, what you're making is a little bit more than what I was making back in 1983. And I was like, sir, how detached are you from reality to say this to people? During a town hall, it was one of the most wildest things I sat through. I was like, does he not understand inflation? Foolish. He makes millions of dollars now. So I guess the millions of dollars gassed him up to say that to people. All right, enlighten the below. Yeah, I'm aware, but debt. So this actually brings up one more point, and then we're going to go to the next part. When you start looking at your debt and you have made like the promise to yourself, like, hey, I'm going to get free from this, debt becomes not just a mathematical figure of something you owe. It becomes this emotional attachment. It becomes this fixation. At least for me, it is sometimes, and I've gotten a little better at it, which is why the chart is behind my wall. It became a fixation that I literally would look at every day. Like, I owe this money. I need to get out of this. Until I started doing the math and was like, wait. I didn't borrow all this money. Like, how does this work? Like, wait, why do I owe something I didn't borrow? How is my life going to look in 5 years? Like, if I pay all of this off and then have a $0 net worth, what was the purpose? Which is why if you have 401k match, it's free money. Don't waste your free money. You should invest in your 401k anyway. It lowers your tax, particularly if you live in New York City where we have obnoxious tax and nothing to show for it because everything is dirty. Definitely. And some people have asked about this. I think I'd have to get like a little bit more comfortable on my end, but I actually have pretty good returns. So my investments now are like at 25%, which sounds crazy. And that's because everything dipped during the beginning of the pandemic. And I just dollar average. Is it called dollar average investing? We just invest the same thing every month, regardless of what the market is doing. So yeah, we'll get into that because I think there needs to be more, how would I say, like awareness and language on investing while you're paying off debt. Because I think it's definitely something people should do. Something I've started doing, which has made me feel better because now I will get to net worth of 0 while still having debt. Like it's going to happen soon. And by soon, I mean like in 2 years. It happened today. But dollar cost averaging. Thank you. I was like, dollar cost. I already had a glass of wine before this, to be honest. But yes. So, listen. All right. So let's get to the next one. Okay. And yes, to Shoshana's point, people were not made to work. That child, don't let anybody call. If you want to work, yes. If it gives you purpose, yes. But that is not the whole reason for life. That's not correct. That's really not correct. And it depends on there's a lot of work that people don't actually view as work. Work is if you have to move your body or move your brain and do something. Housework is work, but nobody ever thinks of, oh, I'm washing the dishes. This is work. That's also work, which is why you then devalue those jobs, etc. So, all right. So let's get to the next part. Oh, I didn't realize it's 8:00.
78.
Shush, Dave. Okay. All right. So now let me make it a little bigger so y'all can see. So 7-8 asked this question, which I thought was a great question. I've been burned out. I'd like to discuss the social pressures that keep us from addressing it when we need to. Sometimes I wonder if wealth and class make a difference in how burnout is viewed and handled. Is the factory worker less able to admit they are tired than the CEO? And what's with the song, I've got 6 jobs, I don't get tired? Why is that an ego boost and not a medical condition? And where in society is it not an ego boost? Excellent question. I thought this was great. So well drafted. And to April's point, capitalism is an inextinguishable, that's great English, inextinguishable dumpster. Yes, that is the short answer to this beautifully drafted question. And I think it's important that we talk about who gets to be burned out, like who's allowed to be burned out. When the original Herbert Herbert, the original person who drafted, these are the symptoms of burnout. This is who burnout applies to, blah, blah, never even glanced over at quote unquote working class jobs, at the grocer, at the waitress, at the factory worker, at someone driving the Uber. Never even thought of that. Does that mean that people in those jobs can't get burnt out? No, because the factors of burnout, let's scroll all the way back. Hopefully it doesn't stop on the videos. Okay, it's not. Oh, good job. Okay, bad job. Are overwhelming exhaustion, lack of emotional attachment to the job, sense of ineffectiveness, and lack of accomplishment. That has nothing to do with the type of job you have. So anyone can experience burnout. So, hold on. But the question then becomes, why is it that when we are talking about burnout, we're only solely talking about people that work in corporate? Why don't we talk about the truck drivers? Why don't we talk about anybody else? And I think what we have seen with the Panorama is who was deemed essential and then who basically got nothing. The people that work in the grocery store, the fast food workers, the restaurant workers, the delivery people, everyone clapped. Like in New York, they started clapping. Clapped for the doctors, the nurses, anybody in the hospital. We're going to clap for them, for the essential workers. No one clapped when they got off work. It was like at 6 o'clock. So like they timed it to like, I guess the shift, to like what they perceive the shifts to be for like the doctors, the nurses, etc. In that, we're clapping for essential workers, clapping. Nobody mentioned their local grocery store bag boy or the woman that works the cash register. Who's coming to my house? Weird. Nobody mentioned, Lord have mercy, things are breaking. Nobody mentioned any of those people. And so here to Jace's point, classism, the answer is classism. And the answer is classism. Because of classism, people do not value that type of work until they realize, we need these people. And even then, they still don't value those people, which is trifling. Currently now in the ass backwards state of Florida, which I am from Miami, and Miami people know this, not Florida. Yes, I understand geography, and I said what I said. DeSantis, the governor of Florida, decided to give all the teachers $1,000 as a bonus, as a thank you, as compensation for now, because he wants them to go to school with children, and children are dirty, so dirty children with no mask, because he doesn't believe in that. $1,000. First of all, that compensation is not correct. But what happened to the healthcare workers? What happened to the grocers, the delivery people? What happened to all those people? Are they not deserving of their bonus when you deemed all these people to be essential and then still continue to treat them like shit? So one thing that I thought is sad, to be quite frank, but interesting to point out. So we've talked about it a few times, but Americans do not like to talk about class, which I find very interesting. And Kelly and I were talking about this before, where in England, classism is very cut and dry. They talk about it. Racism. We don't have that here. We're not talking about it. I don't know. They have the racism. It's definitely there. America's the opposite. Most people with sense will say, yes, there's racism. I said people with sense, emphasis on people with sense. But classism, we're all middle class. America is the only developed place where everybody and their mama thinks that they're middle class. I have known literal rich people that have boats. And I'm not talking about your rinky-dink Bubba Gump shrimp boat. I'm talking about nice boats, and will tell you straight face, I'm middle class. Boo-boo, that's not what middle class means. I have also known poor people. People I know are living 7-person to a 2-bedroom house because of circumstances, and will tell you I'm middle class. America doesn't talk about classism at all. It doesn't talk about class structure, which then generally screws people over, because the majority of us are not middle class. The majority of us have fallen below middle class so far we could not even see, which I find very baffling. And also something to point out, which most of us in the States realize, but there is no federally mandated PTO in the United States. So there is no federally mandated paid time off. So all these essential workers at the grocery store, most likely when they were not working, did not get paid, hence why they continue to go to work. Because if you don't get paid, then how are you going to eat? And then, yes, they did do the stimulus checks, and yes, they have unemployment. You get unemployment if you get let go. If you quit your job, you technically do not get unemployment. And I say technically because if you file for it and your employer doesn't say anything, then in certain circumstances, you will get it. My dad, as a truck driver, was 50 years old, and I was my first or second job out of law school when he called me and told me he got PTO for the first time in his whole life. And I remember him just being like so excited. Like, he's like, Stephanie, I have PTO. Like, this is great. To which I never realized, I never thought to ask him all these years, like, wait, when you had off days, like, you didn't get paid? Like, it never occurred to me that for 50, he's been here since he was 17, 30 something years, he was working and not getting paid when he was off. That for some reason, if you are in a working class job, you have no value to the company when you're not working. Your value is your labor. So if you're not doing labor, they're not paying nothing, which is completely crazy and completely unfair, to be honest. And I think part of fixing and rectifying the issue is allowing people to know, like, hey, first of all, you are valued, but also in corporate land, companies love to be like, are you burnt out? Here's this article, this listicle I got from BuzzFeed. Try all these things. None of these things include me, the company, telling you to take off for a week. Nobody is telling people that work in the grocery store or work like my dad as a truck driver, or, my cousin, I don't think they tell the transporters at the hospital, the people that like push the actual bodies, so you have to be like kind of strong. Nobody's telling people, are you burnt out? Because people, due to classism, do not value that type of labor, but somehow, while not valuing it, have deemed it essential. Which something there is not adding up. Is not adding up at all. All right, so let me read some of these comments, and then we're going to get to the last part. This is the bane of my existence when people do this, and I don't know. So April's point, I can't believe how fast poor people defend billionaires. The bamboozlement of the poor is just, and it's not everybody, it's just wild to me. Like, these people don't care about us. They don't. Bezos is going to the moon. It's frolicking. The man is frolicking. All right. So to the Beck life, I do think living wage is a factor when getting burnt out. The average living wage where I live is around $47K, and this year I barely hit $40K. I've asked for more responsibility, but told I should be happy with what I have instead of supporting me in growth. Which, if you are not getting a living wage, the assumption is then you are more prone to burnout. Because if you have to focus on, hey, grapes in a grocery store cost $10. I'm very mad about this. You guys should watch my student loan video that I just put out where I talked about grocery budget, because the inflation is out of hand. Then you are more prone to be, well, hey, I'm doing these things, but like, I don't feel like it's effective. I don't feel like it's working. I feel emotionally detached. Like, I don't feel like I'm being recognized. Recognition is a big part of burnout. If you feel like you're not being recognized, then you detach from things. And then yet, when you quit these jobs, everyone's boss is quick to say, why didn't you tell me? If you would have told me, I would have given you the raise. I literally quit a job where the CEO of the company literally told me, I didn't know you asked for a raise. I would have given it to you. You should have told me. To which I dead looked this man in the face and said, you're telling me that I told my boss, who then left to a different company, told my new boss, who I didn't ask for, and then told HR, and then also asked for someone in HR advice on like, what do I need to do, etc. And I was so special. I should have leapfrogged all these people and told you, and you would have magically given me some money. Sir, does it look like iribu on my forehead? He didn't know what to say. He did not know what to say. All right. And yes, to Kelly's point, they're waiting to colonize space. It's not a frolic. Charles, they get colonized space and get stuck up there for all I care. For 2 seconds on a tangent, the lack of care about our actual Earth and the people that inhabit our actual Earth by these billionaires is flabbergasting. There is no need for world hunger. There's no need for us to have student loans, to be honest. And it's not a handout, because the amount of money I pay in taxes, if they would just give me some of my money back, I wouldn't have student loans. It's wild. It's wild. So if people try to tell you global warming is caused because no, it's from these corporations that are making trillions of dollars on people. It is a systemic issue. And all the few people that benefit from these things love their money because somehow they magically think they are going to die with that money. a rude awakening is coming for them, but in the meantime, we'll just bear the brunt of all of it. All right, so we're going to get to the last part, which is people are dying outside, Kim. So if your company, and a few people asked about this, if you feel apprehension about returning to normal, your company is trying to force you back into your cubicle farm, or you just don't want to go outside, you are not alone. In New York City, during the height, so I want to say April, before George Floyd was murdered, the height of the panorama here in New York, they were literally, and I'm not saying this figuratively or for shock value, literally burying people in Central Park. It was awful. It was terrifying. It was very frightening and also very sad for those families who were then denied the right to funerals at that time. Yet, everybody's job, not everybody, my job, and a lot of your jobs have decided that they are medical experts and it is now over and we are to march our butts back and sit our asses in these cubicles because their bottom line is more important. I have a hard time believing them, seeing as they have no degree in these things. Thank you, April. All right. Seeing they have, I'll get to the comment in 2 seconds. Seeing they have no degree in these things to tell me, who has been doing my job diligently in the safety of my panorama-free home for all these months, to then march my behind into this dirty space where people have confirmed to have said disease and then been sent home. Because there has been, lots of headlines about certain people do not bathe. We're not getting into that. I find it interesting. So no, you are not alone. And yes, it is foolishness for your employer or anybody to try to con or bamboozle you into going outside when you do not want to go outside. Yes, with proper social distancing, sure, if you feel like it. Yes, if you're around people that you feel safe around, sure. But to go into an office space with strangers that you don't know what they do, would they leave? What is the reason? There's no reason. Besides, to the point of, was it Confused Avocado? I think the name of her video, of her channel, to the point of Confused Avocado, because it is someone's bullshit job to monitor other people and micromanage. That's the only reason. So to April B's point, the fact that homelessness and extracurricular space travel exist in the same realm is mind-blowing. Yes, there's no need. There's no need for people to be unhoused. There's no need for, we could get into landlord debate, but child, at this point, dinner will be had in 5 minutes. So there's no need to any of this. But the reason that fiefdoms persisted, the reason why the factory persists, and the reason why the cubicle farm will persist is because the few have decided they need their money. And we, the many who make them their money, are deserving of nothing besides making them their money. So that's that. And on that note, I appreciate all of you. And to Jared's point, I invested too much in my home office / corner. Yes, and I'm sure your home office is like much more clean and comfortable. So I appreciate all of you. This was lovely. And yeah, so on that note, I'm going to let y'all go and get dinner. Well, let me see. Were there any questions that I missed? I think we covered most of it. Let me make sure that. Also, this will never not be great. And I know it's Kim, there are people that's dying. There's people that are dying, but people are dying outside. Kim is better. You feel me? All right. Well, I appreciate all of you. Also, one thing I did forget. There's some people that say like, oh, well, if you critique it, like, what's the solution? They're very like, I'm going to play the devil's advocate. Don't let the devil use you is always my answer. But anyways, and well, what's the solution to this? There are countries that don't work to the bone like the US. The UK is similar. The UK working trial, but they do have PTO. They do have nationally regulated PTO, so much better. But from what I hear, similar like hustle culture. Spain takes naps in the middle of the day and calls it a siesta. They are sleeping. They are literally sleeping, relaxing, realizing that life is grand in the middle of every day. Now, arguably, some of that money is due to colonization. which that is a discussion for Patreon, which I'm going to post the video on that later. But there are plenty of different ways. Life does not have to be like this. So I encourage you to, here we go, type of thing. We get 25 holidays at least, LOL. Please laugh at us in America because it doesn't make any sense. And I really want people to realize this is not the only way. This is not the only way. It doesn't have to be this way. You could leave, or we could force the old fogies that are in our governing bodies to change it because it doesn't make any sense. We pay enough taxes collectively to get some damn days off. That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying. And then we'll do one more and then I'll let y'all go. So Jonathan's point, my job works me a lot. I got COVID and they still want me to hurry back to work. Child, if they don't kick rocks and stop the nonsense, your life is more important than their dirty job. English today is great. It's disgusting because you know what happened? This is going to be morbid and then actually I won't say it, but y'all know. If for some reason you don't come to the job anymore, they will replace you in 1 to 2 business days. So go live your life. And I'm saying that to myself as I'm trying to also do better and be honest. But yes, I appreciate all of you. And I will see y'all next week in the live. And yeah. And also, we're going to do Brittany's video. I filmed it like 2 days ago. So I'm going to do an update for her conservatorship. Probably tomorrow. I filmed it already. So I just have to edit a few more parts. So all right. So I'll see y'all later. You guys have a good night.